Hey everybody, welcome back to Star Trek Recovery. I'm Mike, and in this video we're going to be going over the top 5 problems with Star Trek Picard, Episode 2. Number 5. The Jerk Admiral. In this scene, Admiral Picard has made his way to Starfleet Command Headquarters in order to request a small ship to go find Bruce Maddox to figure out what is going on with these android twins. In response to this request, the Admiral goes on a big long tirade about how Picard can't be trusted with any ship or crew in space. This goes off on a big tangent about how the Federation shouldn't have tried to help the Romulans, and how Picard is just a big dum-dum for wanting to help them. The problem is that jerk admirals are just cliche in Star Trek at this point. Throughout Next Generation, you had a lot of jerk admirals, okay? Can we just get an admiral that listens to reason and is like, oh yes, your request makes sense. Here's the resources you need. I mean, this is Picard we're talking about. Even if he holds views you disagreed with, the man has saved Earth multiple times. Number 4. The slave androids. In the world of Star Trek Picard, apparently they use androids as a slave labor force to build their ships. The problem with this is that at no point previously in Star Trek have we known the Federation to use androids as a slave labor force. We know that androids have existed throughout Star Trek. Clear back in Kirk's era, we saw lots of different androids throughout the series. So I don't know why the Federation suddenly just now started to use androids as a slave labor force. Not to mention, this directly contradicts what was seen in the Next Generation episode, Measure of a Man, where the very idea of using Data and others like him as slaves was completely repugnant and used in defense of the idea that androids had rights. Number 3. The Zhatvash. Fans of the Star Trek franchise may know about the Tal Shiar, the Romulan secret police. But in this episode, we learn from one of Picard's Romulan servants that there's actually a secret Romulan police, the Zhatvash. And they have a secret that's so terrible that just knowing it can break a person's mind. And what is this secret, you might ask? Are we going to discover it over the course of the series? No. That leads us into point number 2. The worst kept secret in all of history. Picard's Romulan servant, who knows about the Zhatvash, just happens to know what the Zhatvash's super dangerous secret is. The secret that can break a person's mind if they know about it. Because, conveniently, her mother just happened to get drunk and tell her what the super secret Romulan police's super secret was. This secret that is so terrible, so destructive to a person's mind, is that they hate androids. The Zhatvash just don't like synthetic life, and yeah, that's about it. And now it's time for our dishonorable mentions. First, let's start with the rescue fleet in orbit around Mars. These ships are packed in really tightly. You look at this shot, and these ships are really close. Now, I get that it's science fiction, and you want to have a good shot with lots of ships, and it's even something we've seen before in Star Trek, in space battles with ships really close to each other, zooming around. But in reality, spaceships don't actually get that close in orbit. Okay, space is really big, even just around Earth's orbit. And to have that many ships packed into one area, it was just something that kind of bugged me. Next up, the Discoprise. For those people who are doubting whether or not Star Trek Picard takes place in the main timeline, this is the evidence you need. When Picard walks into Starfleet headquarters, he sees holograms above his head of different ships. The first one being the Enterprise from Star Trek Discovery. The next one is the Enterprise D. Now, it's really odd to me that they would put these two ships together in the same timeline, because we know from Next Generation that the original Enterprise exists in its timeline. But in Star Trek Picard, the Discoprise is in its timeline. And we know that the Discoprise and the original Enterprise don't look like each other, and cannot exist in the same timeline. So this is pretty solid evidence, along with statements from the producers, that this show does not take place in the main Star Trek timeline, and is not a sequel to the Next Generation. So basically, the Picard we're seeing in Star Trek Picard is not the same Picard that is in the Next Generation and the Next Generation movies. Now it's time for the number 1 problem with Star Trek Picard Episode 2, Forensic Molecular Reconstruction. In an awkwardly cut sequence, we see Picard and his Romulan servant exploring Dahj's old apartment trying to find some evidence. But the place is spotless. Fortunately, there exists such a thing as forensic molecular reconstruction, which enables us to see what happened in the past, somehow, through magic. Picard tells us that Romulan methods of forensic molecular reconstruction are illegal in the Federation and are highly unreliable, to which his Romulan servant replies, "That's what we wanted you to think." As if the Federation would have never tested this technology or done any R&D in this area. Federation apparently just trusted the Romulans' word on this and didn't bother investigating this technology or looking into it. Not only that, but how does this even work? It scans the molecules in the room and is able to reconstruct the exact time and place and information you're looking for. This plot device was just too convenient and it didn't make any sense. So those are the top 5 problems with Star Trek Picard Episode 2. If you like this video, give it a like and a share. And if you spotted any other problems, let me know down in the comments. That's it for this video, and make sure you keep boldly going.